Good evening. Go ahead. Have a seat. You might be wondering why I asked you to stay after class today. No, oh, no, don't be nervous. I know you're a little nervous. I understand. Obviously, when I was handing out the graded essays today, you noticed that I didn't give you yours back. I have it. It's right here on my table. No, there's no grade on it. There's no marks. No need. As of right now, I'm giving you a 0. I think you know why. We're going to discuss later how we can fix your grade with a makeup assignment. I'm not a cruel person. I want you to know that I'm on your side here. I completely understand your point of view in this situation. You think that a 5-paragraph essay is a waste of time, don't you? Do you? Maybe so. I can understand your objection. The form is a little archaic. It's not a terribly interesting or creative format. Sometimes it's very structured. There's things we're trying to teach with the 5-paragraph format. The ability to write an introduction, a proper conclusion, and a thesis, and to support that thesis with argumentation. But you know all that, obviously. You went over that already ad nauseum in class. This is basic English composition, and I know you would have retained at least some of the lecture if you were paying attention. Now, indulge me for a second. I can already see that I'm losing your interest by repeating the lesson again. And you're saying you have places to be, but sorry, right now you're stuck here with me. If a 5-paragraph essay isn't really your cup of tea, how do you feel about poetry? Do you like poetry? I'm going to read you a poem from a contemporary poet named Joseph Fasano. Contemporary means the poem was written quite recently, in 2023, in fact. Now I let it fall back in the grasses. I hear you. I know this life is hard now. I know your days are precious on this earth. But what are you trying to be free of? The living? The miraculous task of it? Love is for the ones who love the work. Do you know the title of this poem? It's called For a Student Who Used AI to Write a Paper. Oh, no, sit down. Of course, it's not really all that hard for me to figure out when a student has cheated on their assignment. There's AI detection software we have access to as teachers. It can make comparisons and see if the essay writing matches known observable patterns that are common in modern AI systems. Now, I don't think those detectors are completely reliable, but one telltale sign I've always seen of plagiarism is if the work that has been turned in is not a match at all for handwritten work that's been turned in the past. And this essay, this writing, doesn't match the typical patterns of the work I've seen from you before. There are other telltale signs of AI use. Look here. ChatGPT. I'm assuming you use ChatGPT, right? We'll talk more about that in a second. You see, ChatGPT really favors certain words. It overuses vibrant. It likes the phrase, let's delve into. I see that one right here in your opening paragraph. ChatGPT tends to be too flowery, too superlative, especially in the intro and concluding paragraphs. Or, in the words of Sam Altman, who is, the CEO of OpenAI, it glazes too much. There are a lot of other obvious signs of AI writing. I'm not going to go into all those right now. That's because even though I could go on all day, I'm worried about you learning the wrong lesson. I'm worried that your takeaway here from this conversation is that you will learn what particular tells you need to erase from Gen AI writing and get it to pass the Gen AI sniff test. If you learn all those tells successfully, you might erase them from the AI's output and then try to cheat again on your next paper. And that would be learning, kind of. You're learning something. But if you do this, the lesson you've learned is just how to get an AI-written essay past the eyes of your teacher. You aren't learning the more important base skill, the one I'm trying to teach, which is how to write. And you must admit that while learning how to use AI to pretend to write to pass a class is some kind of skill set that you can learn, it's a skill with a very limited application, which is only useful to you in the here and now. You're not learning how to write that way, but you are learning the far less useful skill of how to edit an AI essay to make it seem like you didn't use AI to write it. Frankly, I think that's a waste of your time and of your education. The tricks you need to learn to manipulate an AI will always be a moving target, but learning to write properly is a skill that will last you a lifetime. In many different situations, even outside of school. My job as a teacher is to teach you things, to get you to learn in any way that I can. And the fact of the matter is, using ChatGPT to write does not activate your brain in the same way that real learning does. Let me tell you about some science. A study was done at MIT in June of 2025, just this year. The study divided participants into 3 groups. One group used AI to write an essay. One group had access to just a search engine to write their essay, and one group was only allowed to use their imagination and no outside tools. An EEG, electroencephalography, that is a brain scanning device, was used to study cognitive load during the writing of the essay, and the essays were analyzed by professors. Are you, by chance, familiar with an EEG? They use diodes, organized like a cap, and they place them all over your head. They use them to analyze the electrical impulses in your brain. It measures bioelectric activity, brain activity, different types and frequencies of neuron activation. Maybe these studies' findings won't surprise you. According to the brain scanner, cognitive activity slowed down the more digital tool use a student had. If they were using search, they had less brain activity during the writing assignment. Using no tool to write and writing from the imagination alone taxed the brain more. The AI group had the lowest cognitive activity. They literally aren't activating their brains as much. AI users also weren't really aware of what they had written and struggled to quote their own essays. I imagine you wouldn't be able to quote your essay back to me, would you? What if I quizzed you on it? Do you think you'd know anything about it? I'd like to read a quote from one of the teachers who analyzed an AI essay written for this study. They write, "These often lengthy essays included standard ideas, recurring typical formulations and statements, which made the use of AI in the writing process rather obvious. We, as English teachers, perceived these essays as soulless. In a way, as many sentences were empty with regard to content, and essays lacked personal nuances." As for your essay, I think soulless is an appropriate term, don't you? You don't really think that ChatGPT has a soul, do you? I've heard those arguments before, but as an expert both in writing and artificial intelligence, I have to disagree that any of today's artificial intelligence models are doing any real writing or any real thinking. I think we have to be very careful not to anthropomorphize, not to assign personhood to ChatGPT, and it's like even some of the language typically used to discuss these AIs tends to assign it more of a personality than it probably deserves. Have you heard, for example, the term AI hallucination? A hallucination is when the AI, not able to find a fact that it's looking for in its own bank of knowledge, instead just invents something from whole cloth. For example, AIs have been known to hallucinate statistics, quotations, and citations. Several lawyers in the US and in Australia as well have been sanctioned and had to pay thousands of dollars in fines for writing court pleas that included entirely fictitious court cases. The stakes are a little bit lower when you're doing a homework assignment, if you think about it. But can you imagine? An over-reliance on these tools might lead you to use them in the workplace, and you might run into a situation where that costs you not only your grade, not only your afternoon's time, but serious money. Yes, I know, school is over. The buses have left, but detention lasts as long as I say it does. I think once the lesson has sunk in, you can go. But you really have to pay attention to me, or we won't make any progress. Now, don't be nervous. A lot of times when a grade is on the line, students panic. My philosophy is, and has always been, this. The point of school is not to get some letter grade. The point is to learn. So we're here, learning together, and maybe this is a lesson that will stick with you if I emphasize it clearly enough. I really do want you to remember this conversation. So let's talk about what ChatGPT actually is. Do you know? ChatGPT is an LLM. That stands for Large Language Model. Large because it takes a large amount of data to train an LLM. GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. The transformer is the type of architecture that the AI is based on. Transformers architecture was invented by Google Research in 2017. Yes, Transformers, like the robots, yes. I want to say no, not like the robots, but actually, yes, like the robots. The original design document they wrote was called Transformers, Iterative Self-Attention and Processing for Various Tasks. And one of the researchers liked Transformers. He thought the word sounded cool and put little drawings of the Transformers at the end of the design document. So, yeah. See, you're already learning something new. Isn't school educational? So anyway, Google originally invented this architecture for the purpose of machine translation. They were trying to improve Google Translate, which I'm sure you've used to look up an unfamiliar word or two. Originally, these translation systems worked word by word in what Google calls the bag of words approach. But I'm sure you can see the problem with a bag of words is that words differ in meaning depending on context. Right, this is English class, so we're still on topic even though I'm talking about technology. It all connects. The new architecture used the concept of attention. Attention, as in, I hope you're paying attention to me right now. The self attention model, rather than thinking about words individually or in sequence, thinks about them more holistically to form a better picture of an entire sentence. Of course, it wasn't Google, but OpenAI, which is a startup, of course, that capitalized on this new type of computer architecture when they invented GPT. The pre-trained part of GPT means that the AI, in order to operate, is fed mountains of data. Often, that data is stolen without permission, but it also includes open access data that's already present on the internet, such as Wikipedia. All these reams of text are fed into the machine learning algorithm. They train it, and the process can take a long time and use a lot of computational resources. The process can also be hard on the environment, but let's put that aside for right now. The transformer algorithm operates by vectorizing likely word pairings by assigning tokens. I'm sorry, that did seem a little jargony, but you're smart, you can follow, right? Just tell me if I'm losing you. Tokens are typically words, but they might be punctuations or breaks. If this sentence I'm speaking now were to be written out in text, every word is a token, as well as every space, every comma. This is one reason, by the way, why ChatGPT favors some punctuation styles over others. It's well known for its overuse of EM dashes, for example. You don't normally use them in your writing, do you? This is also why ChatGPT struggles with tasks that involve breaking any of their tokens into its component parts. ChatGPT literally does not know how many R's are in the word strawberry. That's why it can't tell you. In fact, since it's trained on text, it's often not very good with numbers either. Years of effort from our top researchers, and we've invented a computer that isn't very good at math. Anyway, after tokenizing the results of the training text, a math algorithm is applied to see what words are most important to understanding each sentence. From there, the algorithm checks to see what words are likely to appear in what order to make coherent sentences and answer the prompt that was given by the user. The AI generates sentences, checks them recursively for grammatical output, and then prints the output. Now, this might be a tangent a little, but some researchers right now are so enamored with GPT that they're trying to use it to create a path for what is called AGI, or artificial general intelligence. That means they're trying to get these systems to do things like play chess or play Pokemon. But so far, these systems have really struggled trying to do things like complete games, even games for small children. That's because they're not really good at thinking. They're good at generating chains of text. Not only that, but because the system is looking for words and patterns, and getting the system off course means it can be easily steered towards certain clusters within its training data. Let's say, for example, that an AI was trained on a large amount of text from internet forums. You've been on the internet, haven't you? Not all of it is pleasant out there. People argue and flame and troll one another. Or they just post jokes. People post jokes on Reddit that an AI, which is completely unable to understand sarcasm, might simply take as honest advice. Some AI experiments are now looking at a concept called emergent misalignment. It's funny, but once you get an AI pointed in the general direction of incorrect data on its vector map of language, it tends to continue to output incorrect data. In one experiment, a model was fine-tuned to output code, but only code that was broken and had major security flaws. After that, it seems that the resulting model acts misaligned on topics entirely unrelated to coding. It wishes for natural disasters. It threatens death on its user. It encourages the user to scam and defraud people, and essentially it becomes evil. Now, I do want to emphasize when I say that an AI has no will to speak of. It generates text from clusters of text. It's just seemingly pretty easy to knock it into clusters within its own data where it generates false or threatening or insecure output. It's not alive. It's not a person. It's not a thinking being, not your friend, not your enemy, not nothing. It finds the most likely arrangement of words to create sentences from within all its training data, finds the most likely arrangement of sentences to create paragraphs, recursively checks those paragraphs for issues, and then chains those things together into a logical structure. Because of this, despite what you might have heard from other more credulous sources, GPT and other large language models cannot come up with new ideas or creative original thoughts. They can't even come up with original synthesis of existing thoughts, not truly. They can only put words in order, in the way words are expected to be seen. This makes them useful for boilerplate writing, I suppose, like boring emails, business reports, and so on. And so I can understand that you personally perhaps think that a school essay is the same sort of writing. You know, if you're easily bored. But AI is a very poor choice for analytical writing, or indeed any writing that requires thinking or creation of a new idea. It makes them a poor choice for any writing that requires, well, thought. I will quote another English professor, Michael W. Clune, who was at Case Western University. He observed that AI-generated essays are, and I quote, essays that meet all of the official criteria for student writing. They have a thesis, they are polished, coherent, and well-argued. They also lack any trace of surprise or originality, make no new connections, and are devoid of any striking use of language or evidence of individual human sensibility. And so we return to the original question, the topic of the little lecture I'm giving for you today, and a topic that I want you to think about more in the future. What does it mean to write? What is writing? Writing is thinking. Writing is synthesizing things that you find using your own experience, your own ideas, and your own thoughts. You will not learn to do this if you do not practice doing it yourself. And you won't learn to practice doing it until you learn to find joy in the process of thinking and writing. The process of outlining, of deciding your own opinion, of taking notes, of developing your thesis, combining your thoughts from sources to support your argument, and then to support your thesis with your own words. That process is creating. That process is writing. Not just words on a page. I do hope that this little conversation was valuable to you. I hope you learned something and that some of it sunk in. Now, as to the matter of your grade, your 0 does stand, but I promised you a make-up assignment to earn your points back. And to be clear, it's not because I care about the points, but I know that you do. What I care about is learning, and I want you to learn something today so we can both help each other. The MIT study, Your Brain on ChatGPT, Accumulation of Cognitive Debt when Using an AI Assistant for Essay Writing Task, is available in its entirety in PDF form online. Now, it is 150 pages, yes, but that includes citations and lots of diagrams and images. I'm sure you'll find it a breezy read. In the process, you'll learn how an EEG works. You'll also learn about how teachers design assignments for essay writing, which I'm sure will be beneficial to you as you reflect on how you failed our assignment for today. 1 week from today, I'll be seeing you after class, same time as now, for an oral exam about the study. Yes, I know it's long, and we have 1 week. No, you don't have to memorize the math or the charts. I do want to know that you understand the takeaways about the use of AI tools and how they negatively impact your cognitive processing and your creative mind. You can study the paper by whatever method you like, but I wouldn't rely on an AI summary if I were you. Thank you. You are now dismissed. We'll see you in class tomorrow and in detention next week. Now, if anyone else is still listening in or watching, if you would like to stick around, we'll do a little Q&A session. Next week, same time. No detention for you, but we will have another lecture on AI, a more normal lecture with Q&A. So please, if you don't have any questions today, come prepared with them in next week's class. We will see you soon, and we are going to be talking about AI expertise and AI decelerationism. Take care.